Choosing a good name for your plugin is super important because once you release a tool, you can't easily change its name. As you might know, I'm the maintainer for the Crew project, and so far we have accepted over 100 plugin submissions to the Crew index. And naming is admittedly one of the top things that we look for in a plugin submission. Choosing a good name is important, and we have a certain criteria that we look for. 1. Punctuation. Your plugin names should be all lowercase and the words should be separated by dashes. This is the naming convention kubectl also uses, and it's called kebab case. Second point is be specific. Sometimes we get plugin submissions that try to make advantage of being the first comer and try to reserve a generic noun or verb. We usually don't allow that. For example, you might think kubectl login or kubectl service names might make sense to you. However, these words are already overloaded and they mean different things to different people. So that's why we usually do not allow developers to take these generic names. Third point is, you should try to be unique. What I mean by that is sometimes we get plugin submissions that do very similar things to plugins that already exist in Crew Index. However, it's hard to tell what is exactly different between these two plugins from their name. So if you have a particular angle that differentiates your plugin, make sure to emphasize or highlight that in your plugin's name. The fourth point is about using resource names and verbs in your plugin name. For example, when we say kubectl open, it's not clear what does it actually open. Or when we say kubectl service, it's not quite clear what does this plugin do on a particular service, right? So when you are in doubt, you can always supplement your plugin's name with these resource names or verbs. Fifth point is, if you have a vendor-specific plugin, make sure to prefix it with the vendor's name. For example, let's say you developed a plugin that helps AWS users log into their clusters. So you might call this plugin login-AWS. However, AWS-login is actually a better name because if you think of a flat list of plugins that are available to a particular user, the plugins that are related to AWS will be next to each other. That way, you can increase the discoverability of your plugin. The sixth point is going to be about avoiding the kube prefix. Let's say you have a plugin called kubectl space kubetail. As you can tell, the second cube is quite redundant. Seventh point is going to be about avoiding resource acronyms. As you might know, kubectl tends to support shortcut phrases for some of the API resources. For example, CM means config map, SA means service account, ING means ingress. However, as you might guess, if you use these acronyms in your plugin's name, you're mostly going to end up hurting your plugin's discoverability. Again, these are the naming criteria that we look for when you submit your plugins to the Crew index. If you want to have full control over your plugin names, Crew actually has a new feature called custom plugin indexes. This basically means you run your own repository that has a list of plugins that you have, and that way you can name your plugin to pretty much anything that you want. Hopefully this has been helpful, and I hope you choose really good names for your plugins. In the next video, we will talk about why should you look at using Crew as a plugin developer to distribute your plugins. Until then, subscribe and stay tuned. See you in the next video.